Hi, today I want to share with you two recipes for restorative elixirs that I love to prepare and nourish my body with during the winter season. As I'm recording this, it is about 10 days or so before the winter solstice here in Iceland. So a wonderful time to nourish myself with these restorative elixirs. The base for the two elixirs is the same. The only difference is one of them will get cacao added in and one of them will keep the cacao out. And this is an option that I am sharing with you so you can explore. Some people find cacao to be very stimulating. Some people find it extremely nourishing. So you can play around with what feels good for you and for your own body. I would also like to give credit to where these recipes came from. I had learned the principles of Ayurvedic cooking and understanding the energies of foods as offered by Ayurveda from Kate O'Donnell and through her books. I have this cookbook here called the Everyday Ayurveda Cookbook, and that was the place, some of the recipes in there were the places that provided the inspiration for these restorative elixirs. I had modified the recipe over the years to suit my own needs and my own body, but I'd like to give credit where credit is due. So, how do we start? You're going to need a blender, and you're going to need some spices. You're going to need, if you would like to add the cacao, you're going to need some cacao, a milk of some kind. I'm going to use almond milk, but you can use any milk that feels good for you in your body, plant or animal milk. And some dates and some hot water. So we're going to start with the dates. I have here 6 medjool dates, and I should say the recipe is for 500 milliliters of fluid, so that's about 2 cups. I usually prepare 500 milliliters for myself and my daughter, and we share. So medjool dates, they are the soft dates. They're not the dried ones, and that's just I use those because they are softer and they will blend in completely into the elixirs. I have already washed and pitted the dates, so I'm just going to add them in now. All 6 of them into the blender. And I'm going to take my blender stick and smoosh them down as best I can. There we go. And then I'm going to add the hot water. This has been heated to just below boiling. I'm going to pour it in and just barely covering all the dates. And so the amount of water should be no more than 250 milliliters, 1 cup of fluid. Otherwise you're going to be diluting your milk too much. So now this is going to sit here and rest. The hot water will soften the dates. And as it is doing, we can add some of the spices. So what makes this a warming, restorative, nourishing elixir is this herb that I add. It's called ashwagandha, and it is a root that has been ground up into a powder here. And it is a adaptogenic herb. It's a warming herb, so particularly very nourishing in the winter season. And in traditional Chinese medicine, it is used to support the kidneys. The kidneys are the organ of the winter season, the organ that stores our essence. So I'm going to add about a teaspoon of the ashwagandha powder into the blender. And then the rest of the spices, I will share with you my favorite mix of spices, but this is really where you can experiment and you are invited to listen to your body for what your body likes and what your body needs. So allow this to be a mindful experience for you rather than just following someone else's instruction. Ask yourself, what do I feel drawn to? What spices do I feel drawn to in the season? Notice how that changes as the seasons turn. So what I like to add is a bit of vanilla. This is here bourbon vanilla, just ground powdered vanilla. I'm going to add maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't really measure things very much. I go by what I feel like. Some days I feel like adding a little bit more. Some days I feel like skipping the vanilla altogether or a different spice. Like I said, listen to what is present for you today and let the now guide you to the spices. And next comes cinnamon. I will add about a teaspoon of cinnamon today. Powdered ginger root. Couple of shakes here. Cardamom seed powder. I'm going to go into that jar from the other direction. And a few shakes of nutmeg. And then what I also like to add that I'm experimenting with is some mushrooms. So what I have here today is lion's mane mushroom, and this has been powdered like this. Another one that I often use is red reishi mushroom. So today I'm going to add some lion's mane mushroom. And then comes the cacao. This here is 100% organic cacao, ceremonial grade from Guatemala. And this one comes in powder form. Sometimes you'll find them pressed into bricks, the cacao pressed into bricks, and you have to cut it up. Just whatever you use, make sure that it is 100% cacao powder or cacao brick, that it's not been further processed into cocoa powder or had any additives added to it. If you'd like to make the date milk version, now you are done with your additions. If you would like to make the cacao version, this is the only difference, the addition of the cacao powder. And here I usually use about 2 tablespoons, so 1 tablespoon per cup. But this is, like I said, this is something that you're gonna need to experiment with yourself to find what your body likes and allow for that to shift from day to day. So now we've added everything that I want to add, and I'm gonna let this soak for about another 10 minutes or so. The longer that we soak the dates, the smoother they will blend in. So again, it's up to you. Some people, my daughter really likes when there are chunks of dates at the bottom of our cups. So you find out what it is that you like. But I'm gonna let it sit here for about another 10 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and I'll show you the next steps. So here we are back again, and the dates and our spices and our cacao have been soaking there for about 10 minutes. The next thing we're going to do is fill it up with the milk of your choice, plant or animal, to 500 milliliter mark, or 2 cups depending on your blender and the units that are on there. So here again, I'm using unsweetened almond milk. Again, I would recommend looking at the ingredients and choosing milk that is clean, that doesn't have any oils, additives, things of that sort. Synthetic vitamins, I don't like those in my milk either. So there we are, the 500 milliliter mark. Now I'm gonna put the lid on, plug my blender in. I'm gonna turn it on, and I'm gonna leave it on for about, I would say, 3 to 5 minutes. And again, the longer that you blend, this is also going to depend on the power of your blender. If you have a really powerful blender, you don't have to blend that long. If you have one that is not as powerful, you will need to blend longer. And the longer that you blend, the more powerful your blender, the smoother the dates will blend in. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn off the video so we don't have to listen to 5 minutes of blender going, and then I will be back after the 5 minutes for the next step. Here we are, the blender's been going for about 5 minutes. I've turned it off now. You can see that everything looks pretty well blended together. I'm going to unplug it, take it off the stand, and I'm going to pour the contents into a little pot here that I'm going to heat up on the stove. So the next step is just to take the contents, heat it up to a temperature that you like. I like to bring it to just below boiling, not to the boiling point, but just below. So that is the last thing that we're going to do. So open it up here. Pour the contents into my pot. Scrape it out, look for any unblended date bits. Looks like I have a few. My daughter will be happy. Scrape out all the goodness. There we go. And now I'm just gonna bring it over here to the stove. And it's just going to be a few moments to heat it up. a good idea to be giving it a stir. It's quite a thick liquid. And as you're preparing this restorative elixir, I'm really bringing mindfulness to the activity itself, because this is the elixir that's going to be nourishing and restoring the energies in my own body. So what does it feel like to prepare something to restore my own body's energy? And how can I do that with the kindness and the mindfulness and love for my own self? How can I infuse those energies as the non-tangible ingredients in this elixir? So here it is, it's starting to steam. And there it is just before it boils, just below boiling. So I'm going to bring it over here, and I've got my cup. Pour it in. And there it is. There is my cup full of healing elixir, the cacao version. But like I said, if you'd like to make it without the cacao, if you find the cacao too stimulating, particularly I like to make this in the evenings, and sometimes I find the cacao too stimulating in the evenings, so I omit it and I just make the date milk version. And now the invitation is to take a moment and feel the cup in your hands. Feel the warmth of the elixir inside. And open all your senses to start to take in the energetic qualities of the elixir that you had prepared for yourself to nourish your own body. So, using smell and noticing how smelling it makes you feel. Using the eyes, maybe listening to it. And eventually bringing it to your lips. And taking some of the elixir into your mouth. And before you go and swallow it, just let it sit on your tongue and sense what that feels like. What does it feel like to hold the elixir on your tongue, in your mouth? What are the sensations that you are experiencing? And then when you're ready, swallowing and feeling the movement of the elixir all the way down your esophagus to your stomach. And maybe energetically all the way down to the area we call in Qigong the low dantian, your energy center. And maybe imagining the essence of the elixir going straight into your kidneys, nourishing your reservoir of essence in your kidneys. So that's my invitation to you, and Please, if you would like to share your own variations of the recipe or your experience with this mindful preparation and mindful receiving of these elixirs into your body, welcome you to do so by leaving a note here. Thank you. Namaste.